Sophia here, and it's part 2 of my fall pumpkin table runner. I finished the top. If you follow me on my Facebook page, you probably saw it already. I was gonna film all the things, but they are working on the house right now, and there's a lot of banging and stuff, so I have to hide in the basement. And you're probably hearing it anyway, so, but at least it's not as bad. So here's the top. It's done. It's pretty cool, actually. Like I mentioned in the other video, it's not necessarily my style. It's a little bit too modern for me, but I kind of like it, and I wanted to show you something really easy. So today we're quilting and finishing this, hopefully finishing this table runner. So I need to sandwich it. What am I picking for background or back fabric? Let's look at our options. An obvious one would be this one. You remember that one? I had picked it for one of the, whatchamacallit, pieces, and then I decided that it wasn't good enough. I just don't know if I have enough. So let's see, if I fold it in half here, it's not enough. So I would have to join it, and I'm still missing quite a lot. So this is not enough fabric. I need to find something that would fit and has enough yardage. Let me look through my stash. This, I have enough. This is a simple pattern. Can you see it? And I have enough, and guess what? I don't have to cut it. That's what I'm trying to avoid, is cutting and joining pieces together. So if I put this way, I have enough width. When you back, you want to have enough fabric on all sides. So what I'm going to do is put this right here. Yeah, it looks nice together. Okay. Where I'm going to have a problem is with batting. I know I don't have enough batting, and that I'm going to have to put together. So let me just cut it right here, and I'll have enough. This I don't need. This is what I'm keeping. So let me put that to the side. Let's get some batting. Oh, I don't know, maybe lucky. I have a length of batting that's about this width. Let's see if this fits. That would be great. Yes. All right. Okay, now do I have the length? Alright, so if you have enough, if you don't have enough batting, what I do is that I just basically zigzag it together. I join pieces together with a zigzag. That way I get a bigger one. But let me see if I have enough length. And I do. That is great. I don't have to worry about that. I was afraid I was going to have to piece the batting together. Let me just cut this right here, and I keep all of my batting, because you know what, pieces like this I can always use them to do a pot holder, smaller quilts, and then again I join them together. So let's sandwich it. We're going to start with this piece right here. So that's the back, and I'm putting it with the right side at the bottom, and I'm getting my glue, which I don't have a lot of, so I'm definitely gonna have to use some pins, and I'm putting my batting right over it like this. Okay, so this is good. So let me pull this here. I'm going to put some spray glue. And flatten this. Quilt. Now you want to leave a little bit of batting and fabric along the edges right here all around, right? Because when you quilt, what happens is that the fabric gets pulled in, and sometimes it pulls it just enough that you are losing your batting and you're all crooked. I still need to put some pins here and there. So I brought the bobbin thread up so that way I don't have a thread at the bottom. I have 2 threads here, it's much easier. And all I'm doing is squares. So the little square here, the 4 patch, I'm just going to do 1 pass around as a square. This one, every other one is 2.5 in width, so I'll probably do maybe 2 or 3, and I'm just doing squares all around. That's it, concentric squares. Alright, and when I get to the edges here, I just flip it over now. Ah, you hear the banging, right? That's the reason why I don't want to do anything else in the house, because I just can't. It's too noisy. Every time you flip it around, you want to flatten it, make sure your fabric is put together so you don't have puckering in the back. And again, don't worry if you're not parallel, equidistant, all of that. It doesn't really matter. For this kind of quilt, it's modern looking, so it's okay if they're kind of off a little bit. I'll give you close-ups, don't worry. I just want to do this one to show you what I'm doing. Now what you do when you're at the end, you do 1 reverse stitch and 1 forward. That's it. I pull this baby out, get my scissors. So let's look at this first square. Okay, so this is the first square I just did, right? You saw that. Now, you'll notice that I have no thread in the back because I brought in my bobbin thread to the top. So now I should have 3 threads. The top and the bottom are the starter, and then the last one here is the top one. That's the end. So what I do is that I put them together, I make a knot right here. You don't have to do that. But if you knot it like this, you're guaranteed that nothing unravels. So you cut it right here, and it's nice and secure. So all I'm going to do now is do another square here, and then another one here, and I'll keep going until I do 1 full pumpkin, and then I'll move on to the next pumpkin. So let me do all of the pumpkins. I'll show you here and there what it looks like. And you see my square is not perfectly equidistant and it's kind of a little crooked, that's okay. That's the look I'm looking for. So it's been about 3 days and the top, at least the square stitching, is done on all of it. I have a little bit of puckering here, but that's gonna go away when I do the rest. So like I said, you just basically do a square, a bigger square, another square, and you do squares throughout all of the pumpkin. And yes, the furnace is finally on. It was really, really cold. And we have the furnace on for the second and the third floor, but not on the first floor. So this is what it looks like in the back. This is what it looks like, but I still have to cut a whole bunch of threads. It's one of those quilt, actually, you know what, as a quilt top, it would look good either way, whether you put it this way or on the pumpkin side. So what I'm going to do now is do some free motion. And I'm going to do the free motion here, and all I'm going to do is basically pebbles, and you'll see it's super easy. And I'm doing that because it's kind of echoing the pattern that's here, and it's not hard to do. It's one of the easiest ones to do actually when you do free motion quilting. So let me set up the machine and then I'll show you what I'm doing. So I have positioned my fabric right underneath my quilting foot here, and you see it's got a little spring, so it goes up and down. Make sure your feeding dogs are down because you don't want them to grab the fabric. You're supposed to slide. So all I'm doing, I'm putting the needle right in the middle of the hoop though. You don't want it on the side. Sometimes it gets stuck on the side of the plastic little hoop here. And for the size of the stitch, doesn't matter because you are in charge of the speed and the length of the stitch. It depends on how much and how fast you move. Okay, so all I'm doing is pebbles. So basically I'm going to make circles, complete circles, go back a little bit and add a little circle next to it, and make little circles, big circles, and they're all going to be connected together. All right, so let me put my needle down. Okay, and let's start. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I need my quilting gloves. And again, for those of you who are new to quilting, quilting gloves are essential. They help you move the fabric. It slides underneath your fingers if you don't have quilting gloves. And you want to keep everything really, really loose so it's easy to move. So let's get started. So I have my paper work done on every little part that is in that color. Let me show you this one right here. So you see the effect that it makes when you have, I'm a little bit out of focus here, maybe you'll see better. All right, so you see the effect. You get to see pebbles that are kind of pale in color and some that are a little bit darker, and then I have small pebbles, big pebbles, horizontal pebbles, I have vertical pebbles. So this is what it looks like. And on the little one, on the little triangle, I have maybe like just a few. So now I'm going to do the stem. And the stem, it's very easy. I'm just going to do stripes, that's it. And they don't have to be straight. I'm just going to go from here all the way up over there. I'm going to go over bleed a little bit, just to give it a nice flat look. I could do kind of like a fake wood design with some kind of spiral on it, but nah, I'm just going to do straight stitching from one end to the other, because it's going to do a perpendicular and it's going to again echo what I have here. And then I'll do the leaf, which is going to be very simple. It's just a simple stitch this way and a couple of stems the other way, but for that I have to switch color. I'll probably do a green. So let me do these. I have 4 of them to finish the leaves, and then we can do the binding. So I did one, and you see how I stippled them, but I didn't do parallel lines. I got some that are a little crooked, some that get a bit closer than the others. Let me see, maybe you can see better this way. Okay, and it's to give it like kind of an organic look. Now I can go on the other side here because this is gonna get cut. Okay, I'm just doing this so that I can just zigzag. And then the binding is going to be over, so the binding will hold the stitches together. And by the way, in case you're wondering, I'm doing the binding by machine today. I'm not going to do it by hand, because this is a small piece. I really don't need to be bothered with that. It's just a tabletop. It's not a actual quilt. I like to do it by hand, but nah, not for this piece. It is not worthy, and to be honest, this gets washed more often than a regular quilt. So I need stitching all along, all around it for the binding that's going to be really, really solid. So let me finish all 4 of them. I'll be right back, and then I'll do the stems and we'll move on to the binding. So I'm ready to do the leaf. I'm going to show you how to do that. See if I can get you more light. Maybe it's better. I don't know. It's hard to film quilting, I gotta be honest. All right. So I'm back on the feeding dogs. I'm going a little bit at the end here. I'm not touching the corner. I'm going to do 1 stitch forward, 1 backward, and then I'm going to do a straight line, but I'm not going all the way to the end. I'm going to stop about maybe an inch. All right, but you want to be parallel to the 2 edges right here. So straight line parallel. And you stop it just about here. Do 1 stitch back, 1 stitch forward. Okay, so I basically divided my leaf in 2. I'm trying to show you, it's very difficult. Okay, so you see it, I divided it. Okay, now I'm going to an angle like this, and what I'm going to do is basically these like this, 3 on each leaf. So I'm going at an angle right here. Hope you can see that. Move this out of the way. Okay, and again, I'm not all the way to the edges over there. Let me see if I can get you closer. And again, I'm not on the edges. Okay, I'm starting a little bit after that. Needle down. Let me lock that in place. Okay. All right. and I go all the way to the divider that I just created. Then I move the feet back up and I turn this, and I'm basically doing the other side of the V. And I'm not going to the edges. Alright, so I have the beginning of my leaf. And now I'm doing another one a little bit further up. I'm basically doing 3 V's. It's a crude leaf is what we're going to call it. Alright. And I stop when I get to the divider. Flip it around. You want to be parallel to the first one you just made. And this is what I just made. So that's how I'm designing the leaf. Let me show you another one I just did. Okay, and here is another one. So you get an idea of what I'm doing, right? All right, let me finish all the leaves and then we'll be ready to cut the edges all the way up to here and do the binding. So I found some brown and it's dark enough. I wanted something dark. I like dark edges on quilts. And this one's got a little bit of glitter on it, so it's going to bring back the glitter that's right here in the middle, right? I like to have little echoes like this. I was going to cut them at 3, but you know what? Usually it's 2.5. So we're going to keep it at 2.5. All right, and I got several layers of fabric here, and then each one is going to be a strip. Okay, and let's do 3. I think 3 is enough. I don't need anything else. I'll have leftovers for sure. I did a video about how to prepare the binding. If you go into my sewing and quilting playlist, you'll find it, but real quick, basically you take one strip and you put it this way, and then you take another strip and you put it this way. This is easy to follow because they're not the same front and back. Sometimes the fabrics are the same color. All right, so you do a cross like this and you do a straight stitch from here to here. That would allow you to then fold it and they will meet, kind of like the snowball we did earlier, right? And then you just keep doing that until you get one full length. Once you have that, imagine this is my full length. You just fold it in half like this on itself. And you iron it, and that's going to be your binding strip. So typically when you're binding, you'll put the binding in the front, a little bit below the edges, and then you do a straight stitch. You flip it around and you stitch the back by hand. But since I am doing this one by machine, we're doing the opposite. We're going to put the binding on the back first. Same thing, a little bit away from the edges. Flip it over and then I'll do the stitching by machine right on the top right here, really close to the edges. But for that I need to change the color because I don't want to see it, so I'm gonna get my dark brown thread and get started. And again, binding video is down below. I don't want to go over binding again because, you know, video will be 2 hours long, right? So if you want to know how to do binding, just check out that video. The link is down below. I'm ready to start. I'm not starting in the middle. You want to leave some leftovers here, okay, because that's how you're going to join it. I'm using the edge of my foot right here to guide myself, so that's going to follow the edges of the quilt itself, and then I'm going to eyeball the rest. Couple of stitch forward, couple of stitch backward. Don't need the gloves for that. And straight line. There we go. So now I've flipped it over, and I'm going to make sure that I really have the edges of the quilt itself, the raw edges, right against this. I don't want to have any kind of puckering, okay? And I'm really on the edges here. Got my feet dogs up. This is the part where you want to go somewhat slow. Now, I'm keeping on the edges of the binding because if I'm too far into the binding, the edges start lifting up. And I don't want that. So I'm pulling the binding here and I am flipping it over, and I'm making sure that the edges, the raw edges of the quilt is exactly in that band. I don't want it before or after. It's got to be right there. And I'm really on the edges right here of the binding. You want to go slow. See if I can give you a bigger close-up. No, that's the best I can do. Okay. So you just fold it, pull it, flatten it, make sure it's capturing all the way to the raw edge of the quilt. I know you're probably wondering what you do when you get to the edges, right? So I keep this one folded and I leave this one open, right? So it's gonna make an angle like this. And all I do is fold it over like an envelope to the mitered corner. And then when I get there, I just leave my needle down, flip it, and keep going in a straight line. That's it. And this is when you need one of these tools. It's called a stiletto, and that one was sent to me by a subscriber, and I do use it. All right, I caught it. Flip it around. Extra thread here. When I'm done with it, that's when I remove all the extra threads that are all over the place. I clean it up good. Okay. Ta-da! Table runner is done. Here's my table runner for this year's Thanksgiving at the house. So it's not super long, but it's big enough for my table. So let me give you a little bit close up. All right, so you see the stitching here, and then we got the leaves, and then we got all of the squaring here, and another leaf over here, and we have the pebbles there, and the edges and corners. Let me show you over here. What does it look like underneath? That's what it looks like underneath. We got beautiful corners, and it's almost just as good the wrong side out, right? I can use it both ways. There's some people who actually do that with their runners. They quilt both sides so that way you get 2 runners for the price of 1. So I really like this one, and let's compare it in terms of quality of work with what I did 2 years ago, which is on my wall right here. That was the first year I was learning how to quilt, guys. Remember? Was it 2 years or 3 years? And this is all I could do, and trust me, this was a debacle. Remember the debacle this was? It was rough. It was rough. But I put it on the wall as a reminder. So I keep it as a reminder that if you keep practicing and you keep learning, there's nothing you cannot achieve. Pretty happy with this one. I was pretty ecstatic with it back then. But this is a whole other ballgame. And it was not difficult to make. It really wasn't. But it looks different. It's a little bit more modern than what I usually do. I wanted to show you something simple so you could get back into quilting. And again, I did this one for Mary Ann. And I believe, Mary Ann, you already watched the first video. So there you go. If you are making this quilt, this table runner, for yourself, and I know one of you said that you were going to make it with your mom, please, please, please put the picture of your quilt on my Facebook page. I want to see it, okay? So this was probably the only time you're going to see quilting for Vlogtober 2019, because it's not for everybody. I totally get it, but I wanted to share, and it's fall related. Thank you for watching, you guys. Bye!